Okay, Candice. So our question of the day today is going to kind of be in the realm of our episode today.
Okay.
What is your favorite hidden detail at Walt Disney World?
Just one?
Just one.
Oh my goodness.
Your favorite.
Okay, I think my favorite is the hidden Mickey in the rock work on Journey of the Little Mermaid.
The one that you can only see once per year?
On Mickey's birthday. I think that's fabulous.
Yeah, that's kind of awesome because for those that don't know, the sun is in the perfect spot to shine through the rock work. Mm-hmm. And it just creates a little hidden Mickey right there that you can only see for like an hour on one day out of the year.
November 18th.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's kind of impressive.
Yes.
Okay, so do I go with my Lariah answer in honor of her and say the Poop River?
Would that be really anybody's favorite detail?
It would be Lariah's favorite hidden detail.
Well, maybe.
But I think I will actually go with one of the things that actually isn't there anymore, but was one of my favorite hidden Mickeys in Magic Kingdom. And it was when you went up in Splash Mountain, when you went up before you did the big drop, there was, if you looked into the rock work off to the left-hand side, there was a silhouette of Mickey carved into the rock work.
Yes.
And that was always, because one of those things, if you're not paying attention, you don't see it. And sometimes you have to have somebody point something out to you in order to have you see it. Mm-hmm. And I just thought that one was pretty amazing. I was a little disappointed when they took it off, when they turned it into Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they added other little nods that we can go looking for.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Scott.
I'm Candice.
I'm Lacey.
And I'm Lariah.
Grab a drink and come hang with us at the Hangar Bar.
Okay, welcome back to the Hangar Bar, everyone. We are super excited to have you back again today. Scott and Candice are hosting today. We're going to get Lacey and Lariah back involved here in the next week or so. Candice is, again, doing another show at a local theater, so a little different grouping of hosts for the next couple of weeks after this one. It'll be interesting. We're rapidly coming up towards the end of our 4th season. Can you believe that?
No.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And it's amazing when you think back that we've been doing this for 4 seasons and like the thought process behind when we started and how far we've come and everything we've gotten to experience as part of this. It's just amazing every time I think about it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, if you would have told me 4 years ago that we would be having conversations with former Imagineers and we would be having conversations with Disney authors, I would have told you were crazy.
Mm-hmm. Same.
But this is opening up opportunities for us just to do some really cool things and just get to really nerd out about some things while we stay connected to the parks from half a country away.
Right.
So it's been well worth it. Thank you, everyone, for coming along on this journey with us. Please share this. Rate us on the different podcast platforms you listen on. That helps us grow. But honestly, we thank each and every one of you for coming along with us on this journey and listening in as often as you do. We love y'all. Okay, today's episode is going to be all about lesser known details and experiences that you can do around the 4 parks at Walt Disney World that you might overlook if you're just a normal guest or just somebody that's going for a couple days. Things that you might miss or things that you just don't notice or don't know that you can do around the park. So we're just going to spend some time talking about that. And I think that'll be a little bit fun. We're going to talk about some different secrets, maybe some stories behind some attractions if we think we have time for that, and then maybe some little hidden Easter eggs like hidden Mickeys or that kind of thing that we notice that you can look for next time you go.
Sounds good.
Okay. So let's start in Magic Kingdom.
Yes.
It's the best place to start.
Yep.
It's not a trip to Disney World without a trip to Magic Kingdom.
Not so much.
Or it doesn't feel like it. It is a trip to Disney World. It just doesn't feel like it.
Right. Like, I mean, that's quintessential Disney World, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we think about Magic Kingdom and Disney World, what are some of the hidden details that you specifically like to think about?
There are so many. And I mean, I'm a detail person anyway, and that's one of the big things that I love so much about Disney is that level of detail that absolutely immerses you from minute one. And it's in everything, like even in the queue lines, aside from maybe Navi River Journey, which we've talked about that forever. But like, you're not just standing in a normal line. You are immersing in the story and you're starting your journey through that story the moment you step into the line.
Yep.
Now, if you go through the Lightning Lane, you miss out on some of that, or the single rider lines or some of that kind of thing.
Yep.
But some of my favorite things that I love to think about are not necessarily things in attractions, but it's just enhancements to the overall environment.
Right.
One of those is the giant Willy from Mickey and the Beanstalk that is actually inside the Sir Mickey's merch shop
Yes.
by the castle.
Yes.
Another thing I love to think about is the windows on Main Street USA,
Yep.
paying homage to some of the people that have helped establish the Disney company and
Yeah.
create it to the point that it is today.
Do you have a favorite window that people could go look for?
Well, okay, so I actually have a few.
Okay.
Of course, both of Walt's windows, the one facing out of the train station and the one looking at the castle.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is a travel agency window as well. And I don't know the name of it. I'm sorry. That was one of my favorite things. Or the favorite windows that I've noticed. And also, I do know that Lee Cockrell has a window on Main Street. And just with the soft spot in my heart for him, that would be another one.
Yeah, and take the time to notice all of those windows. That was one of the things I was going to call out too, because it's like if you listen to our episode with Theron from a couple weeks ago, you heard him talk about Imagineers liking to pay homage to the team and doing different things. Main Street USA goes beyond that, right? It's not only people that worked in Magic Kingdom, it's Disney legends, it's people that are important to the Disney parks, it's people that are important to the Disney company that find their way onto those windows. And do you get a window when you become a Disney legend?
I don't know that that's an automatic thing, but I believe that, I mean, it just depends on your contributions, and I don't know how those are determined.
Right.
But yeah.
Right. And then you mentioned the merch shop with the Jack and the Beanstalk character that's
Mickey
inside.
and the Beanstalk?
Yeah. Same story, different character names, whatever. But you mentioned that a little lesser known experience that people can do in that very same gift shop is to go get yourself pixie dusted.
Yes, which is a whole bunch of fun.
Yeah, it's awesome. And you don't have to be a kid.
Nope.
They'll do it for anybody. I think the cast members love doing it as much as people love having it done. And like, if you don't go in and be a sourpuss and a grump and say, I just want to get pixie dusted. But if you have fun with it, they're going to have fun with you.
Right, like that. I mean, when you walk into Magic Kingdom as an adult, I think you automatically have to turn into like a 4-year-old
Right.
in order to get the full experience out of the park. But getting pixie dusted is like one tiny little part of your day where you can really let yourself be a kid again.
Yep.
And just like revel in the fact of getting pixie dust sprinkled on you.
Yep.
And then you're glittery all day.
Yeah, exactly.
Who doesn't love that?
Right? You were glittery for multiple days.
I was, because it's very fine glitter.
Right. Okay. And another experience that a couple of experiences that we've not done, or one experience that we've not done that I think would be fun, is you can go to Harmony Barbershop and get your hair cut, which is also right there on Main Street USA. You can, like, I always hear about it for kids going and getting their first haircut there. As an adult, could I go get a haircut and a beard trim, or is it only for kids?
I think it's just for kids, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
But I do know that if it is your first haircut, you get like a little set of Mickey ears and a certificate and some other things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, fun little experience there. And then if you really, really want to find something kind of nuanced and that you have to go out of your way for, there is the Le Chapeau telephone. That is, where is that? I'm trying to think of where that is.
So when you come into the park, the town hall where you meet Mickey is over on the right-hand side. Le Chapeau is right to the right of that.
Okay. So here's the thing about the Le Chapeau telephone. If you think about the time period when Main Street USA is supposed to be emulating, it's the turn of the century, turn of 18 into 1900 century. The phones then were party lines. So you go into La Chapeau, you pick up the phone. Is La Chapeau where you get the embroidered Mickey ears?
Yes.
Okay. When you go get your embroidered Mickey ears, pick up the phone, because what'll happen is you'll hear conversations between the citizens of Main Street USA. Because it's just, again, one of those details that you don't think that Imagineers think about that you don't. How does a telephone work in 1910? It's a party line.
Right.
Which means you pick up the phone if you need to call somebody and you could hear somebody else's conversation. I remember my grandparents talking about just picking up and getting the gossip of the town. Just by you quietly pick up and listen, and you can sort of hear everything that's going on.
Thank goodness we don't have that now.
Right? Okay, let's look at other things.
Another thing is along that same line is the voice lessons that are taking place.
Yes.
If you turn down that one particular side street off of Main Street USA on the right-hand side, it's by the Crystal Shop, and you just go back into that little area and you can hear voice lessons happening.
Right. That's kind of cool. And hot tip, if you are on Main Street USA and you just need 5 minutes of quiet, turn either right or left down that little street.
Well, you can't go left because all the buildings on the left-hand side are...
depending on what direction you're going.
Oh, yeah.
So turn
Okay.
right or left depending on which direction you're going.
Yeah.
And go down that little street, that side street, because not very many people go back there.
Right, and there are a couple tables back there
Right.
and benches.
Right. And if they do go back there, they don't stay for long.
Right.
So it just ends up, they come back to hear the person's, the voice lessons. But that's just a nice quiet place. If you need to de-people, but you don't want to leave the park, go back into that space because it's pretty quiet most of the time.
Right.
So yeah. Let's move into Liberty Square for a minute for another one of my favorite kind of homages.
Okay.
Do you know what's special about the Liberty Tree?
There's a lot of things special about that tree.
So tell me what you know. We'll see if you have what I think is special about the Liberty Tree.
I do know that it's super old, and there are 13 lanterns on it for the 13 original colonies.
That's the one that I was going to call out. So there's lanterns in there. Count them. Everything means something.
There's also a replica of the Liberty Bell in Liberty Square.
Yes. For now.
Yes. There's also the state flags.
Yes. Also, going back to Main Street USA, there's so many little hidden details.
Oh, the flags.
Yeah, look at the
Yes.
flags over the buildings as you go down Main Street USA. They are not official U.S. flags.
Right.
Some of them are missing stripes. Some of them are missing stars. Because in order for it to live up to code, you have to have flag code. You have to have them lit. If you want to display them and leave them hung up and not have to take them down, they would be a pain to get to at night. So Disney just said, we're just going to put up non-real flags, but they, like, from a distance, they'll look real.
Right.
So
the only real flag is the one that they do the flag retreat ceremony for every evening at dusk.
Yep.
And they usually have a veteran take part in that, which I think is an awesome tradition.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're a veteran and you go and you want to do something like that,
Talk to guest services.
Yeah, go into guest services and say, hey, how do you volunteer to be a part of the flag ceremony? Because they'll let you do that. And again, I've said this in past episodes. I am a huge fan of doing things at Disney that not everybody gets to do. That's one of those things not everybody gets to do. So you can be one of 365 people a year that get to do that potentially.
Yep.
So it's worth asking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. What else?
Also, another thing that I think is really, really awesome about not just Magic Kingdom, but all of the parks is the ambient music that plays as you're moving from land to land. And a lot of people just, I'm sure it doesn't even register, but I think they would miss it if it wasn't there. Because it kind of sets the stage and adds that other dimension about where you're at and what your feeling is supposed to be and that kind of thing.
Yes, for sure. Okay, there's so much in Magic Kingdom. We could almost do an episode per part or per land.
And
or
if
per
we want
park.
to, that's fine.
Let's see how this one goes as we continue to go through Magic Kingdom. Because another one from Main Street USA, as you walk down Main Street USA, it smells like cookies.
Well, yeah, it does.
They pipe in
Cookie smell.
And they do that in all the other parts of the park as well.
They do.
Like, they are so 4D in the experience that they get all of that included. Moving to Adventureland, this is, I actually, when we were looking up sort of some fun things about the park, just to refresh my memory, I learned something new. When you are in the queue of the Jungle Cruise, you hear Morse code. Right at the entrance, you listen closely, you can hear Morse code being transmitted from the Radio Shack. What do you think the Morse code is spelling out?
My hunch would be an SOS.
Your hunch would be incorrect.
Huh.
The Morse code signals that are being sent is actually a part of Walt Disney's opening speech from Disneyland in 1955.
Oh, I love that.
So my guess is it's probably something like, all who come to this happy place, welcome, would be what the Morse code is spelling out. But I thought that was kind of awesome.
That is awesome.
In the open, we talked about the Poop River, and that's not so much a hidden, but so many people, I think, just kind of walk over that without kind of knowing that the Imagineers went to that level of detail.
So I think maybe we need to talk about that so that everybody's up to speed on that.
Okay.
Back in colonial times, when Liberty Square would have been appropriate for that time, there were not indoor toilets.
Mm-hmm.
And people would toss the contents of their chamber pots just out into the streets. And so you would have poop rivers flowing in the gutters.
Yes.
Which is gross, but be that as it may.
Yeah.
So they've got the differentiation in the pavement colors to indicate that. And they've kept that very true in the land itself. And the only restaurants that you'll actually find restrooms, yes, are in Liberty Tree Tavern. But they are far enough back in the restaurant that they're actually in Adventureland.
Right. Yeah, no bathrooms.
Or Frontierland, or whichever.
Wherever. It's just, there's no bathrooms
Yes.
in Liberty Square.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other thing Candice mentioned, like the concrete. The Poop River is a glaring example of concrete work that's done to help tell the story. Go over to Storybook Circus and look down.
Mm-hmm.
You see peanuts, like peanut shells crushed
And
into the
animal
pavement.
footprints.
And animal footprints pressed into the concrete. And that concrete is meant to look more like sand or dirt or something like that. Even the concrete of every land that you're in
Yes.
helps tell the story of why you're there. That is the immersiveness of Disney.
Yes.
Again, I don't want to harp too much on our interview with Theron, but when he's talking about making sure that people don't go up and knock on the material and it not sounding like what it was supposed to, they think about what are the surfaces people are walking on.
Mm-hmm.
We have to use concrete because, but what can we do to make it look more like would have been natural in that space?
Mm-hmm.
How can we do plant work? How can we do all of these things are thought about before they finish doing what they're doing.
And with that in mind, they also have to keep in mind, because safety is Disney's first key. So if they're wanting to plan a surface or something like that for people to walk on that may be a little bit different, they still have to use materials that are going to be safe in any environment, whether it's hot outside, whether it's raining, so stuff doesn't get too slick.
Right.
That kind of thing. So all of that has to be kept in mind when they're doing this.
Yes. 100%. And I want to go back and change my answer to the question of the day because I just thought of what is my absolutely favorite hidden thing.
Okay.
And it actually comes from the People Mover.
Okay.
As you're flying around on the People Mover, you go by a model of Progress City, which was Walt's original plan for Epcot. Mm-hmm. And it was part of the original design of Carousel of Progress. You would exit out and be able to see this model of Progress City. So they brought part of that with and put it in that scene where when you go into the tunnel, you see that model of Progress City. So, again, everybody knows that I love the things that are tied to Walt, and that model is something Walt worked on. Mm-hmm. Like, you look at it, Walt touched it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Right.
And it's just, so I'm changing my answer. I'm not going to go back and change it and edit. Hopefully you're listening so you know I changed my answer. Okay, what else? Oh, tell people what happens at the close of a park day in Magic Kingdom.
Okay, so there is a thing called the Kiss Goodnight. And basically what it is it is the representation of the cast members and the characters and everybody involved in wishing you a good night. Thank you for coming to the park. We hope you get home safely. It's a short little, I don't know, maybe 2-minute long thing where they play like a spiel of some sort, and then they change the lighting on the castle, and then it's When You Wish Upon a Star, and that signals the close of the park day. And it's just wonderful.
It is. It is. And it's not like, I always thought the Kiss Goodnight was fireworks, which is what Walt, he always wanted fireworks at the end because that's the Kiss Goodnight.
Right.
But because they do the big fireworks show, when the last people are getting kicked out, that's when they light up the castle, they talk to you. It's amazing. I'm glad we stuck around that one night. Mm-hmm. Even though we did have the lady go, "That's a wrap."
Well, it's fine.
It's fine. Everything's fine. Okay, anything else that you want to talk about around Magic Kingdom? We've talked about our favorite moments on rides ad nauseum, so I don't think we need to do that.
Yeah. Also, like in the queue of Haunted Mansion, there's the cemetery that shows some of the Imagineers that worked on the attraction. There's Madame Leota's tomb, and then there is the pet cemetery on the exit side. Mm-hmm. And if you look carefully, you can actually see the tombstone for J. Thaddeus Toad.
Yep, that's a good one. Which then also ties into the mini adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
Yes, it does.
Because on the wall, there is a picture of J. Thaddeus Toad. Is it the toad or is it the owl?
No, it's J. Thaddeus Toad handing the deed to Owl.
So he's handing over the deed to the building to Owl in that attraction. So little details. Like, we talk about why we love Disney so much. Mm-hmm. And why I think it's so much better than any other amusement park, theme park, whatever you want. It's because of that level of detail. Mm-hmm. A lot of people do theming on rides really well.
Yes.
But at Disney, it's everything else. They do the theming on the rides as well as anybody else, but they do the theming, the immersion better than anybody else. Mm-hmm. And those are the kind of things that I think casual fans, waiters, as Theron called them, those are the things that people don't notice. Mm-hmm. And they're the ones that are like, oh, Universal's just as good. Because what are they looking at? They're looking for the immersion in the ride.
Right.
And Universal does a good job of immersion in the rides.
And they do hold the trophy for thrill rides.
Right. 100%.
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
You don't go to Disney if you're only looking for thrill rides, but Disney's getting better there too.
Right.
But you don't go to Disney for just thrill rides. You go to be immersed and live in the story. Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
Yes.
Last thing about Magic Kingdom before we move over to Epcot. Take the time over by the carousel to go over and see if you can become the king of Magic Kingdom.
The sword and the stone.
Yep. There's a stone with a sword stuck in it that you can go see if you can pull the sword out of the stone. Mm-hmm. Which is just a fun little thing to try. I've never done it, but it looks like it would be every time we've walked by, there's been a long line of people to try, and I always joke I'll push kids out of the way for the honey wall, but not for the sword and the stone.
I mean, that would give you the rights to be king.
Right. I'm
Why
king
have you
for
not,
the day.
Why have you not done this?
I'm king for the day, or until they press the button for some little kid.
Right.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where I want to know how it works, but I also don't want to know how it works.
Yeah, that's part of the magic.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind ruining the magic on some things, but I figure is there a cast member nearby that has a button that they're watching for the right person, or like so that guy with the big bulky muscles comes up and they just make him feel bad about himself when the 2-year-old comes up and just barely tugs on it, it slides up. Who knows?
Yeah.
Or if it's like a weight sensor, who knows? I want to know the magic, but I don't want to know the magic.
Yeah.
So I'll just live with that dichotomy in my life forever, I guess.
It'll be okay.
It'll be okay. Okay, let's move ourselves over to Epcot and talk maybe here. Let's talk a little bit more about World Showcase.
Okay.
And kind of what makes World Showcase special is, believe it or not, there's a lot of museum quality things
Absolutely.
that are there that you have to go search out and seek out to be able to experience all of it. So another place where the Imagineers did a good job of paying attention to architecture, how things were built, how things are done. And there's a few special experiences, I think, within Epcot that we want to talk about. Mm-hmm. So let's start there first. The special experience that I want to do sooner rather than later is I want to do the behind the scenes tour.
Yes. Same.
And that's not anything that's been gate kept or anything like that. It's an inexpensive tour. Mm-hmm. You get to walk around the greenhouses. You get to eat a cucumber or whatever is fresh and that kind of thing that was picked there in the greenhouse, and learn more about it. And that's just something I've always wanted to do because, again, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, experiences that not everybody does or chooses to prioritize.
Yes.
Right?
I agree. Mm-hmm.
So anything around Epcot like that you want to do?
I did recently read that they are opening the sea base in the Seas Pavilion again. So certified scuba divers will have the opportunity to dive in the aquariums.
They're opening that up again?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I'm not a certified scuba diver. I'm not sure that where we live is an opportunity for me to do that because I don't like lakes. So...
You could get certified, but getting certified in a lake is hard.
And dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not a discussion for today.
It's dumb ways to die.
Wow, okay. Behind the scenes is something I would like to do. To be perfectly honest with you, and I know it's really expensive, but it's my bougie side coming out, is I would like to do a VIP tour.
Yeah, and get into all the parks with the VIP.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. And I just thought of something else that is on my Disney bucket list, and I think Epcot is the place I would want it to happen. I think it would be a hoot to get evacuated off of a ride, off of an attraction. I was actually talking to somebody at work about this the other day. And if you're going to get evacuated off of an attraction, how cool would it be to kind of be at the top of Spaceship Earth and get to walk down past all of the scenes and get a closer look at the detail and that kind of thing at all.
But see, that kind of, like, I don't know how I feel about that because, like, there's some of that stuff where it's like you understand that they're audio animatronics and you understand that it's machinery and all these other things. There's certain parts of that, though, that I don't want to have the magic ruined.
Right.
And I think an evacuation off of a ride would just destroy it.
I can see why you would think that. I think that's why I think something like Spaceship Earth would be cool to be evacuated off of. Because, yeah, you already know they're animatronics, but you don't get close to them. Like, you don't get up. Like, as you walk down the stairs that you see as you were going up, not very often do you get the chance to, like, as people are walking down the stairs, look around at that much detail for that much time. Like, I think that's one where the magic wouldn't necessarily be ruined by an evacuation.
But I also don't want to get that close to the animatronics because they're a little bit creepy.
They might be becoming smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been doing it for how long now?
Right, and you just hope that the attraction didn't break down because an animatronic broke loose from its restraints.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, too funny. Okay, so let's talk about World Showcase. I think that's where we're going to spend most of our time here in Epcot, because World Showcase is one of those places where there's a lot to see and do, and I think you could spend multiple days and not see everything that there is to see.
I agree.
We're going to go the right way around the park.
So we're starting in Mexico.
We're starting in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about the architecture there.
Okay.
The pyramid looks exactly like if you were to go to central Mexico and see those pyramids. Like, the attention to detail that they have on that. Again, you're probably going to get sick of hearing me say that in this episode, but it's just amazing to me.
And it's important.
Right. Was What's Her Bucket's artwork only there for the Festival of the Arts, or is that there all the time?
Frida Kahlo?
Yeah.
It was only there for Festival of the Arts.
Okay. I was going to call that out as one of my favorite hidden things to do, because it was kind of, and it was the first time I realized that wasn't a fictional artist that was being represented in Coco.
In Coco?
Yeah. So for those that don't know what we're talking about, it's the artist that has the unibrow in the Coco movie is an actual Mexican artist. Was
She's
an
since
actual passed. Yeah, she wouldn't be in the land of the dead in Mexico if she wasn't.
Right.
So I thought 100% that was a fictional character. And then when we went to Festival of the Arts earlier this year, there was a little photo op where you could go stick your head through, and they had a unibrow hanging down, and you could get your picture taken with her unibrow.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of watching all the people try and figure out if that was a unibrow or a mustache that they were supposed to put on when they stuck their head through the hole was kind of hilarious. If you go into the pyramid, that little town square in there, that's set up again to be very much like a Mexican town square.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually a gallery of art in there that is, much of it is based on Dia de los Muertos, but it displays the Mexican folk and historical artifacts, some of it even pre-Columbian pottery and that kind of thing. So it's pretty amazing that if you want to spend the time you can. And Candice always says, and the older I get, I'm agreeing more and more, I could go to a place like Epcot and not get on an attraction. You could literally spend your $160 to get in the gate, and you could spend it looking at art. You could spend it at restaurants and noticing details and that kind of thing. And I would be more willing to do that at a place like Animal Kingdom or at Epcot than I would Magic Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm starting to get more and more with you that the attractions are a bonus there, not the feature.
Yes.
It's amazing. And that's one of the things I hope they don't ever change about Epcot, which when they put in things like Guardians and that kind of thing, it's kind of shifting towards the attractions becoming the feature, because that's what draws people into the park, because not everybody can be as smart and beautiful and Disney related as we are.
Wow. Okay. That was special.
What else about Mexico? Oh, one other thing about Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Take the time to listen to Mariachi Cobre.
Yes.
They play several times a day.
Yes.
One of my favorite experiences was just to sit there and listen to them do a set.
Mm-hmm. And they've been playing there since opening day.
Yeah.
So it's worth it.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Moving on.
Moving on.
Norway. Anything about Norway that you really appreciate?
Not anymore. Except I will say this. So the troll statue in the merch shop
Right.
is very much Norwegian lore, like actual Norwegian lore.
Right.
I appreciate him.
Yeah. Yes. And the other thing about Norway that you've mentioned before, I think, is the Stave Church buildings.
Yes.
and that kind of thing. And one of these days I'm actually going to look up to see what a stave church is, but I think it's just
It's the style of the
architecture
building.
type, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Another thing that's cool about Norway is Akershus, the restaurant, is based off of the Akershus castle / fortress. So if you look, you can actually see it's a castle in Epcot. So there's some tidbit trivia for your next trivia night. When they ask what's the castle that's located in Epcot, you now know that it is the Akershus fortress.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else from Norway?
No.
Okay. China is up next.
Okay.
China is another one of those places where I need to explore more. I know they have the beautiful gardens out front.
That, I think, is my appreciation point for that is
Yeah.
just the bamboo garden out front. It's stunning. And you could take probably a lot of time. And that's another one of those places where if you need a few minutes of depeopling without leaving,
Just go
you can
explore
just
the
tuck back in
gardens.
there
Yeah.
and just walk through the gardens.
Yeah. And as I'm reading kind of from what I'm trying to describe, how to describe it, my information that I'm looking at to make sure we don't forget anything. I didn't know this, but that whole building is a replica of the Temple of Heaven.
Yes.
So it's modeled after the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest in Beijing. And this site says the building is a stunning example of Chinese architecture. So it's actually modeled after a real Chinese temple, which I didn't know that. And the House of Whispering Willows is the art place in China that has a rotating exhibit of Chinese art and culture, clothing, that kind of thing. So that's one of those things. Candice will always chastises me, rightfully, that we don't spend enough time exploring the pavilions. We're always on to the next thing. We're those people that I'm the person that just kind of walks the center of the walkway through the World Showcase, and if you don't get back in and explore, you miss out on a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else from China?
I don't think so.
Okay. Moving on to Germany. One of my favorite things about Germany is the little miniature town and train set.
Yes.
That's a lot of fun. And the banners in that little train set change based on the festival.
Yes.
Again, detail. A little model train set that lives outside has banners that they change out to match what season it is in Epcot. Crazy, I say.
And I will say about Germany that if you go back on, like, into the pavilion back toward Summerfest, which is the quick service restaurant, and you go through the little archway where you go into Summerfest, and you knock on the mural that's back there, it's hollow, because the original thought was that they were going to make an attraction based on the Rhine River. So it was going to be a water ride that went through Germany. But funding fell through, or the idea got scrapped or something. So they just put up a really nice mural, which, again, they could have put up a plain wall.
Right.
But they wanted to immerse people. So they put up a lovely mural. But, yeah, if you go back and knock on it, it's hollow.
Yep. I think that's amazing, and I still think they should go back and build that attraction.
Same.
The other thing, the best stemware that I've found has been in the Germany pavilion.
Yes.
They will ship it.
Yes.
They will package it and ship it, so you don't have to necessarily try and get it home in your luggage. You can also get other authentic German things like beer steins, that kind of thing there. And then they also have several authentic cuckoo clocks that you can buy, which is very German throughout the shops in Germany, which I think is pretty amazing.
Yes.
Anything else from Germany other than the bread pudding? I feel like that's a little hidden thing.
It's a beautiful hidden thing, though.
It is, because it's from a shop where all you do is get bread pudding and brats.
Yeah.
I'm
Which
sure
is fine.
Right. I'm sure they have other things on the menu, but that's all I know them for is bread pudding and brats. And pretzels, probably. But Okay, moving on to Italy. What do you think I'm going to say about Italy?
My guess would be, see, there's so much there, though, because the piazza itself is stunning.
Mm-hmm.
But also the 3 ovens back in Via Napoli are actually named after the volcanoes in Italy.
Yes. That's not what I was going to say, but that's a very true point. Very good point. We actually, I don't remember when we talked about this. It was in an episode where we were doing an exploration of World Showcase, and I realized they have a canal that looks like Venice.
Yes.
On the lagoon side of the Italy pavilion, there's things to do over there.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea, which means I'm blind and I'm going to call it hidden.
Mm-hmm.
Something that not a lot of people look at and look for.
Right. Plus, also, there's, back in the pavilion, there's that beautiful statue of Neptune.
Yes. And that's actually an interesting one. The Neptune fountain is based on the famous Fontana del Nettuno in Rome.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of cool. And then they also have a replica of the Campanile bell tower of St. Mark's Basilica.
They do.
And again, like, if you look at it, just had that meme pop into my head where somebody says, "Hey, we should go travel the world," and what they mean when they say we should go travel
World
the world
Showcase.
is World Showcase. Or the person who's a Disney fan, like, actually in Italy, like, they have this in Epcot. Why do I need to see it here? Can I go get on an attraction now? I think that's kind of funny. Okay, anything else? Let's move on to America.
Okay. The only thing I really appreciate about the America Pavilion or the American Adventure Pavilion is the rotating exhibit in the American Adventure building.
Right. Very cool. Magic Kingdom is where they have the only non-government office that has the seal of the president in the carpet, right? That's the Hall of Presidents.
Yes.
Okay. Should have mentioned that when we were in our Magic Kingdom section.
That's all right.
Yeah, the America Pavilion is just, I think, a little underwhelming to me. I like the show. It's a good place to take a nap. I don't fall asleep in Disney, but that's a show that I fell asleep during because it's cool. It's long. I already know the history. It is startle awake. Okay, Japan.
Yes.
The drummers is one of my favorite things about
yes.
Japan.
But also, I do love the facade of the castle that is further back in the pavilion behind Mitsukoshi.
Mm-hmm.
I also appreciate the little river and the koi fish.
Yes.
And I also appreciate the great big horse statues.
Yes.
Like as you go through the bridge on the way back toward that castle facade, there's 2 huge statues that are warriors on horseback, and they're stunning.
Right.
And also the lantern that was a gift to Walt Disney from a dignitary in Japan. I don't know if it was an ambassador or president or who it was, but there's a lantern that was actually a gift to Walt Disney that is sitting at the edge of the pavilion, and it's lovely. And the landscaping itself it just sucks you right in.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And the pagoda has, I believe, 5 different levels on it to indicate the 5 elements of nature.
Yes. Yes, and it is modeled after the Horyuji Temple in Nara. Mm-hmm. And then the Torii Gate is inspired by the Itsukushima Shrine in Hiroshima Bay. So that's
cool. A great photo op because there's a dragon and all kinds of things. And you can see Spaceship Earth as you look that way.
Yeah, agreed. And then the Mitsukoshi, you mentioned that is...
It's the world's oldest department store.
Right. And I think in addition to that I think gets overlooked sometimes in Japan is they actually do have an art gallery there as well.
They do, yes.
That has Japanese art and culture. They show origami, talk about mythology, Japanese mythology, and all the things. Mm-hmm. So, again, go exploring World Showcase is a multiple day affair.
It really is.
I'm convinced of it.
And also, like in the back part of Mitsukoshi, there's that cute little part of the shop where they have all the snacks.
Right.
Like, be a little bit adventurous and drop a few dollars and get yourself some snacks that you might want to try. and just have fun with it.
Yeah.
Like, don't do anything like Dare level. Like, here's a wrapped piece of dried fish, if that's not your jam.
Right.
But like, we got some flavored marshmallows that were pretty tasty, and there's Pocky and all kinds of good things back there. So check it out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fun. Okay. We're going to move on to Candice's favorite pavilion. So let's talk about Morocco.
Oh, love it.
What do you love about it?
I love the intricacy of the architecture and the different mosaic tile work and the lighting, and the fact that the royal architects from the land of Morocco were actually dispersed to come and help build the pavilion. I also love the fact that from the right angle in Epcot, you can actually see the backside of Tower of Terror. And they designed that building to match the aesthetic of Morocco, because that's the vantage point that you see it from. So they didn't want something just sticking up in the sight line that didn't look like it fit in.
Again, details.
So that's why the Tower of Terror is the color that it is and the shape that it is.
Yep, because it's got to work within the sight lines of Epcot.
Yes. And I also
Detail.
love that there are so many, there are some really cool exhibits within the Morocco Pavilion, including some art. And then when we were there for Festival of the Arts, they also had a exhibit celebrating women in dune buggy racing, which I thought was pretty progressionist and really cool.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think Morocco is becoming one of those places that's a little controversial.
Yes.
Because when the government of Morocco stopped sponsoring it, Disney started making some changes. So some of the artwork, some of the tile work that was done, it needed to be updated. They didn't go as authentic as maybe it was before. Still looks beautiful, probably still is very reminiscent of Morocco, Casablanca, Marrakesh, those areas. But it
feels different.
It feels different. Like they were trying to update it to modern times instead of trying to keep it true to the history of Morocco.
Right.
So sometimes we don't have to agree with everything. It's still beautiful. It's still probably one of your favorite pavilions. But if you're one of those people that notices every detail, that's one of the things that there's some chatter about in Disney circles, that it feels like Morocco's taken a step back instead of a step forward.
Yep.
Okay. France. En français.
So I think my favorite thing about the France Pavilion is the attention to detail with landscaping and architecture coloring and that sort of thing, and just some of the authenticity of the different foods that are offered.
Yes. Yeah, agreed. And we actually went further back into France on our last trip because they put Remy back there, number one.
Yes.
Number two, we just explored, and like that little street back there feels so much like we haven't been to Paris,
Yet.
but it feels like a Parisian little street. Like the way it's set up, the way you go into the buildings, it feels like France. And you don't have to travel to France to see the Eiffel Tower. It's right there in Epcot.
Right. And it's lovely.
It's lovely.
And there's a little perfume shop back there where you can actually you can purchase a bottle of perfume and then have it engraved with the dates of your trip and a special occasion if you're celebrating, as a fun little souvenir.
Yep. And next time we go, we need to look at the stemware in France too.
Okay.
See how it compares to Germany. Because we need to get a couple more wine stems anyway.
Yes, we do.
So maybe we can buy some from France this time and compare to Germany.
Okay. Ooh, we should get champagne flutes since champagne is French.
We could. Okay, United Kingdom. I think my favorite little thing there is the British Gardens.
Yes.
Like the maze that you
Yes.
can go walk yourself through. That's kind of a fun little nod to English gardens.
But I also love the fact that Christopher Robin's bedroom is back there.
Yes.
And you can do a meet and greet with Pooh Bear and friends.
Yeah, I don't know where I learned that. Maybe you're the one that told me, but that was another shock to me that I'm like, wait, what? I didn't know that was there.
Yes.
I think that we need to go do that too.
We do.
Is get our picture taken with Pooh Bear in Christopher Robin's bedroom.
And I also appreciate the shop that is there that you can look up your family's coat of arms and have it put on a souvenir to take home.
Yeah. So how does that work if you don't have English ancestry?
I don't know.
If your name's not in the book, you just don't have a coat of arms?
I guess so.
Okay. How very exclusionary.
Elitist.
And the British colonized basically everywhere, so every name should probably be in there.
Yes. Or some derivative thereof.
Right. What else? Was there something else that we signed when we were in one of those gift shops? Or a book that we saw?
I feel like there was, but I can't remember. But
Yeah.
like now that you say that, I'm like, yeah, we did something. I don't know what we signed our life away to, but like Disney doesn't own us anyway.
Right, exactly. Okay. Last
But also
Oh, yeah.
Rose and Crown is a lovely place.
It is, which is a direct recreation of a bar in London, I do believe. There's a Rose and Crown in London.
Yes, there is. And I will sing the praises of a drink called the Snake Bite, which is actually, I found out that it is illegal in the UK because you don't really taste the alcohol, so you can get messed up real bad real quick on Snake Bite. And so that is now illegal in the UK.
Murica.
Yeah.
Okay, last pavilion,
Uh-huh.
Canada.
Love it.
And I will always say one of my favorite hidden things about Canada is the walkway around the backside of Canada
Yes.
with the rock work, and it feels like you're in the mountains and there's a waterfall, and it's just absolutely gorgeous back there. And I didn't even know it was there. Like, we were watching one of our favorite influencers, and all of a sudden it was...
They're taking a walk, and it's like, what?
Where is that?
Yeah.
And it's just absolutely beautiful. And then one of the last working offices in Epcot is in that pavilion, up in the top of the building that's right there on the corner. They may even still have some offices in there. I don't know.
That would be an amazing place to have an office. I'm
Right.
just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, where do you work? I work in Epcot. Oh, you're a ride attendant?
No.
No, I just have an office in
Canada.
I'm an accountant. I have an office in Canada. My guess is the head of the Epcot park probably has an office in there.
Who probably has an assistant who has a desk in that building.
Right. Oh, that's too funny. Okay. Anything else that we want to talk about from around Epcot?
I don't think so. I mean, and I know that we've said this a lot for this, but like take the time or make the
Yes.
time to actually get in and explore the pavilions and World Showcase, because is it 100% worth it to do that? And it makes you appreciate everything that Disney has put into that space that much more.
Yeah. Okay. We're rapidly running out of time for this one. Let's rapid fire the last two parks.
Okay.
Just go super high level, and then maybe another time we can dig in a little bit deeper to the other two parks.
Okay.
Let's start in Hollywood Studios.
Okay.
So do you know the significance of the addresses on Hollywood Boulevard?
Other than the fact that everything means something in Disney, no.
Okay, so the addresses on Hollywood Boulevard are actually, they have very special significance and are carefully selected to add depth and storytelling to the park. So imagine that.
Surprise.
Depth of storytelling. The Crossroads of the World, which is near the entrance, is 1000 Hollywood Boulevard.
Okay.
This represents the official address of Disney's Hollywood Studios.
Okay.
The Crossroads of the World structure is inspired by the real Crossroads of the World in Los Angeles, which is often considered one of the first modern outdoor shopping malls and a symbol of the entertainment industry. Keystone Clothiers is at 1928 Holiday Boulevard.
Which is the year that
It's the year Mickey made his debut in Steamboat Willie.
Yes.
So it marks the birth of one of Disney's most iconic characters.
Actually, two of them, because Minnie shares that same.
Yes. The Hollywood Brown Derby is at 1947 Hollywood Boulevard.
Okay.
The same year, the original Brown Derby location on Vine Street in Hollywood opened. So it's a tribute to that. Mickey's of Hollywood, also 1928 Hollywood Boulevard. The Trolley Car Cafe is at 1928 Hollywood Boulevard as well. Sid Cahenga's one-of-a-kind antiques and curios, it's now just a PhotoPass location, is at 1940 Hollywood Boulevard. And this address is a nod to the golden age of Hollywood, specifically referencing the year 1940. This area is seen as the peak time for the classic Hollywood studios, producing some of the most iconic films in history. Legends of Hollywood, Sunset Boulevard, is 1937 Hollywood Boulevard. Do you know the significance of 1937?
1937 was the year that Snow White came out.
Yep. That marks the release of Disney's first feature-length animated film. Then you have the Hyperion Theater, which is at 1926 Hollywood Boulevard. You know the significance of 1926? Think about the Hyperion Theater.
Yes, and that would have been in Hollywood.
Where were the original?
They were above the Hyperion Theater.
No, they were on Hyperion Avenue.
Right.
So 1926 is the year that Walt and Roy founded Disney Brothers Studios in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And that later became the Walt Disney Company, and that original studio was located on Hyperion Avenue.
Okay. Like thinking about my coffee mug that's upstairs, and
Right.
I'm like, Hyperion, why do I know that?
Right. So yeah, that's fun about. And then, like, you think about Hollywood studios, some of the bigger things that are tied back to the golden age of Hollywood, the Chinese theater, which is R.I.P., the great movie ride, but has been replaced with a classic banger song attraction in Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. But the inside of that still feels like the Chinese theater of the great movie ride.
It does.
And I'm sure they did that on purpose.
Yes.
Cheaper to renovate, still throws you into the story, the theming, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And again, we've talked about Hollywood Studios is moving more and more into immersing you into the movies versus being a celebration of movies, which, fine. I think if that's the direction they want to go, at some point they're going to have to make sure that they have one cohesive theme.
Yes.
Because right now it's not one cohesive theme. You turn left and you have an attraction that immerses you in a cartoon. Then you have Star Wars, Galaxy's Edge. Then you have Toy Story Land. But if you turn right, you go to the Hollywood Tower of Terror. You go to Aerosmith's Rock and Roller Coaster. You go to... That's not putting you in those...
Right.
Well, one could argue the Tower of Terror is putting you into the Twilight Zone. But I think they're at some point going to have to put you... They're going to have to, like... Which puts places like the... What's our favorite restaurant there?
50s Primetime?
50s Primetime at risk.
Yeah, it does. Because if you think about that whole Echo Lake area...
It's a celebration of
It's
movies.
a celebration of old Hollywood. But
Right.
it's like, what I don't get it.
It doesn't necessarily fit with
No.
what they're doing with the rest of the park now.
No. But, I mean, 50s Primetime is a place that if they close down, I may riot.
You know what they could do? They could make it like a Leave It to Beaver restaurant. Like they could keep the 50s feel and not have it be like a celebration of all television, but pick a Leave It to Beaver. Pick
Donna Reed. Something like that, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Where you still can have the fun that they have at 50s Primetime, but be more immersed in a show or in a movie or something like that.
Yep, I agree.
That's okay. So again, we can dig deeper into Hollywood studios at another time. Let's rapid fire Animal Kingdom. Let's talk about, well, I feel like I've been doing all of the what are my favorites. What are some of your favorite things around Animal Kingdom?
I think probably one of the most profound favorites that I have is when you are going into the Asia section of the park and you're walking toward Everest and you see the little shrine thing that's there.
Yes.
That lines up with the shape of Everest.
Yes.
I just love that.
Yes. And I
I
learned...
also love...
Oh, go ahead.
Like throughout the park where you walk over bridges and you can look either way down the little rivers you don't just see plants and water. Like, they have that themed out so well.
Yes.
So it's like little fishing ports and little boat docks and
Yes.
things like that. And it's that extra step,
Yeah.
that extra mile that I absolutely love. Thank you, Joe Rohde.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Imagineers. Like,
Yeah.
Joe's the mastermind behind it, but like that doesn't happen and doesn't stay without the Imagineers just being completely dedicated to storytelling. 100% dedicated to storytelling. One of the things I really like about Animal Kingdom is as you walk into Africa, the Harambe market.
The Harambe Village.
Yeah, that whole village, but in particular, the market where you can buy carved African
Oh, yeah.
pieces of art, like
Yeah.
authentic African art and that kind of thing. We actually, in our kitchen right now, have hanging a
Wind chime.
a wooden wind chime that is African animals that was carved by an African artist, and nothing overtly Disney about it. Probably still my favorite Disney souvenir. Mm-hmm. It's just fantastic. And then also we talked earlier about experiences that not everybody gets to have. When the Harambe dancers are out there, if you get the opportunity, don't be shy. Just go do. Have fun. Let them pull you up. Let them dance with them. Have fun with them. Because, again, when we've done that, we've done it a couple times now, they pull 10 people up 4 times a day. In a park that has a capacity of 100,000 people, you're one of 400 that gets to do that during the course of the day. Mm-hmm. There are a whole crap load of people in this world that have never gotten the chance to dance with the Harambe dancers. Mm-hmm. We've done it twice.
So do we technically qualify as Disney performers? Because I'm thinking we're missing a paycheck somewhere.
I don't even care about paycheck. I'm putting it on my resume.
I've danced with Disney. Thank you.
What else about Animal Kingdom do I absolutely love? The conservation messages.
Yes.
Throughout. Like,
Yes.
that entire park is built around conservation of the world around us.
Yes.
Being better humans.
Better stewards.
Better stewards of the planet that we've been gifted.
Making you realize that there are things that are bigger than yourself that you need to be concerned with.
Right.
Yeah. I also love the care and treatment of the animals
Yes.
and how they are very much for the betterment of the animals and the study of them. And like, if you watch the Magic of Animal Kingdom on Disney Plus, we are not sponsored by Disney Plus, none of that. But that show really shows the message of how they're in partnership with the animals so that they don't have to sedate them all the time.
Right.
But they make the animals willing participants in their care.
Yes.
And I think that is so interesting and such a unique perspective and approach to animal care so that they don't have to sedate them all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's just fascinating.
Yeah. They don't have to have blow darts in the butt cheeks.
Thank you.
Bonus points if you can come to our social medias and tell us what movie that's from.
Blow dart in my butt cheek.
So, yeah, I think, again, as we wrap up this episode, I think we wanted to talk about this just to help you if you're going to Disney. Make it about more than rides. The value of Disney does not come in the form of attractions and, in my opinion, does not come from getting on as many moving things as you possibly can. The value of Disney is immersing yourself in the stories that are to be told, finding the stories that are to be told. And that happens in park, that happens in resort, that happens in Disney Springs, all of those things that if you walk in somewhere and you're like, I don't feel like this has a story, either go looking for the story because it's there or find a cast member and ask. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, I want to know more about this pavilion or this land or this whatever. Tell me the story of the theming. Help me figure out what I should be noticing.
Right.
And if you do that, do you know how fast you're going to see a cast member's face light up and be like, let me tell you something.
Well, and that's just like the last time when we went on, was it the Maharaja Jungle Trek that we were, yeah, because we saw the tigers.
Yeah.
We were looking at the meerkats. And they were explaining how they were training the meerkats to know when it was feeding time so that they knew who had been fed and who didn't. or who hadn't been fed.
Yeah.
And like, if you engage the cast members, number one, they're some of the most lovely people on earth, and I will die on this hill every day. They are the magic.
Yes.
But at the same time, they want to talk about what they're doing.
Right.
They want to talk about what they're a part of. So let them.
Yeah. Yeah, and they talked about that meerkat training because we were curious.
Right.
They were out there they had them all lined up on a log, and we're like,
are they going to sing, or what are we doing here?
when I was a young warthog.
Thank you for that. Wow. Moving on.
But yeah, what are they doing? Oh, here's what, and that was a 5 or 6 minute conversation.
Mm-hmm.
The number of times that I've asked a question of a cast member that ended up with me learning something or me having a great interaction with a cast member is probably more than I can count.
Mm-hmm.
They are not just there to stand there and look good in costume.
No.
They are there to interact with you. They are there to make your experience magical. Don't be an asshole and ask questions.
Right.
And honestly, if something goes wrong, they're there to help. Still, don't be an asshole.
Right.
Go be nice. Say, hey, this happened. Is this supposed to happen? Don't go in demanding, I need a free night. I need a free park ticket. I need whatever.
Right.
It's hey, this doesn't feel right to me. What can we do? They will bend over backwards to make your experience magical.
They will, but they do have set limits of how
Right.
far they can take things. So by all means, if something goes wrong or something, let somebody know, but don't go into it expecting.
Right. Expect nothing.
Right. And more times than not, if you do that, those little moments of magic are going to sneak in. And that's just like our last trip where I was wearing my I Love Cast Members t-shirts. And we went to the Joffrey stand, and they gave us a little discount because she liked my shirt.
Right.
Like, I never would have asked for that. I wouldn't ask for it again, even if I was wearing the same shirt.
Yep.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, 100% agree. Okay, I think this is a good place to wrap up. If there's anything that we missed,
Which I'm sure that we did.
I'm sure we did because there's so much detail. Come out to our socials, interact with us, let us know, comment on the post for this episode, and let us know what your favorite hidden detail is, what your favorite little thing that you get to do around the parks or your lesser known opportunities that you get in the parks. Let us know your favorites. We'd love to hear from you and that kind of thing. And if you would like to come on the show and talk about your favorite part of Disney or your favorite little thing, let us know. We'll arrange a time to get you on and let you talk to our audience about your favorite parts of Disney. So we want to interact with you, and we want you to feel like you're a part of the Hangar Bar family. And with that, remember, there is always a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
And we'll see you real soon.